Exactly at the center of all this education crisis in the northeastern region located in Wajir County. But to continue having this discussion and just to have it with EU, the European Union Education Program Manager, that is Mohammed Sabu. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. So now the decision by TSC to withdraw teachers from the northeastern region, is it the only solution that TSC had?
Thank you, Brenda. Thank you for the opportunity. I think the Teacher Service Commission made a very hasty decision without looking at the implications. Mm-hmm. As we speak, we have an education crisis in the Northeast. UNESCO, in one of its reports, talked about education marginalization in the Northeast. Since 1963, education development in Northeast had faced a number of challenges. We had an issue to do with access to education, the lowest in the country. We had quality concerns. Mm-hmm. And now this decision by the Teacher Service Commission to withdraw 3,000 teachers from the Northeast in a backdrop of understaffing in the schools will only exacerbate the situation. Mm-hmm. And for me, in my own analysis, the implications will be one, as you can hear from your correspondents, schools are closing. Young boys, young men will be out in the towns, in the villages, and this could be potentially recruited by those Al-Shabaab elements. That's one. The other issue is that the government of Kenya has been putting in place policies. You remember the NAC government, they had the free primary education. The government of President Uhuru came on board with the free secondary education. And with these, gains have been made. I think for the last 10 years, access to education have improved. Mm-hmm. And also now with regards to the 100% transition. I'll give you the example of Garissa County, where at the moment they have registered 98% transition rates. Mm-hmm. Now, from the information I got, is that, and I'll take Garissa County as an example because that's where I come from and I have the data. Garissa had 1,600 TSC teachers. When TSC decided to withdraw the teachers, 1,300 teachers left. Mm-hmm. And even before then, the county had a shortage of 1,000 teachers. You see? So now we have only 300 teachers who are left to run close to 300 schools. So that is very unmanageable. It has implications on quality of education. And even with the 100% transition, the 98% that has been realized, for example, in Garissa County, those gains will be eroded because...
But from what I'm getting from you, Mr. Sabul, it is, when you're talking about the 100% transition, the government's project of ensuring that there's that 100% transition to secondary schools, in northeastern region, this will be hard to achieve.
And what the information I have is that progress has been made. And I can give you the example of Garissa County, where they have registered excess of 98%. Mm-hmm. Wajir, Mandera is close by. I mean, the threshold is above 80%. Mm-hmm. So achievements have been made in that regard. But the question is, will that hold? The question is that will this achievement, will they be consolidated and sustained? And one of the challenges of this 100% transition is that everyone who finishes primary 8 transitions to secondary. So we end up, with children who didn't perform well in their primary examinations. So when they come to the secondary school, these children will need help in terms of improving their reading skills, mm-hmm. their writing skills, and there they need the mentorship and support of teachers.
So now as we speak, so what balance should the TSC put in place? Because at one point, on one hand rather, they're looking at the safety of their teachers. On the other hand, they're also looking at the quality of education and the academic future of these children. So what should TSC do at this point?
That's a very good question. I think, Brenda, there's a very legitimate concern about the security of our teachers. I think that one we have to be very clear about. There is threat to the lives of teachers working in certain hotspots. in northeastern region. But having said that, and actually before I go there, I would like to take this opportunity to send my condolences to the teachers and the families of the teachers who have been affected by the different tragedies. But it's the responsibility of the government of Kenya to secure those locations. Brenda, I work in Somalia. I manage education programs for the EU in Somalia. And the thing is that there are a lot of security issues, but still education is ongoing, and this is because of the mitigation measures that have been put in place. Kenya is facing threat from Al-Shabaab, but also Ethiopia, which has its troops in Somalia, faces potentially the same challenges. But the government there have mitigated the security issues. So I think the most important thing is for the government to address and mitigate the security issues. Mm-hmm. That's very important. And then, Brenda, the issue of teachers' quality of education in Northeast has been an issue for very many years. I think the government, the policymakers must come up with a strategy that can address this once and for all. And I want to go back to a directive that was given by Minister Amina when she was the Minister of Education, sometimes back in November 2018, where she said for primary school teachers, teacher trainees from marginalized areas, they could access teacher training colleges with a grade of D+. Initially, and that's how it is, it's C-stand. But I think she had foreseen a situation where this is a recurrent situation, and she wanted a kind of a measure that will solve this once and for all. And as you know, the TSC went to court to contest this, and that particular proposal has not been implemented. And the consequence of this is that if we had implemented in this year of 2020, 3,500 teachers from marginalized areas will have joined the teaching profession.
But then for governors in the northeastern region, I know of a county like Mandera has decided to employ locals who have some teaching backgrounds and retired teachers from Mandera County to go back to the classroom and teach. So having locals who have that teaching, sort of training, is it the right solution to solving this whole issue of insecurity in the northeastern region when it comes to teachers?
Yes, I think that is actually the issue of mobilizing, former teachers, teachers now who left the profession and maybe working in the county government. It's a short-term measure. As we speak, there is no sufficient professional teachers, a cadre of teachers who can plug the gap. And that's why I said it's quite important that looking at the medium, long term, we need policy program arrangements to address the issue of teachers, for example, lowering the entry grade for teacher training colleges. Mm-hmm. But again, going back to the county governments, yesterday I was at that function where northern leaders engaged some of the government ministers. And I think I would like to commend what happened yesterday. The leaders of Northeast have used that platform to highlight the issues of education, the issues of teachers in the North. And I think Minister Matiang'i carefully listened, and he said he will convene stakeholders meeting that will involve the government, the Teacher Service Commission, and the leaders from the Northeast to address this issue. So already the government is feeling the noise. And I think the politicians, the governors, have actually done good in that regard. But where the challenge is, early childhood education is one of the functions of the county government. Mm-hmm. It's a mandate of the county government. Today, if the counties of Wajir, Mandera, Garissa employed the right number of ECD teachers, commensurate to the budgets that they have, these teachers will have plugged the gap in some way.
All right.
See, but now the challenge is that has not happened. I would like to comment, for example, Mandera. They have managed to employ 1,300 ECD teachers. Wajir around 900. Garissa is much lower. So the message I would like to pass to the governors is that as you look for avenues, as you dialogue with the national government and Teacher Service Commission, the mandate that is with you is that of ECD. Please play your rightful role. Employ more ECD teachers, and they will help mitigating the crisis that we have at the moment.
Right. And the latest attack that happened in the northeastern region, it is the fourth attack, targeting the non-local teachers. And there has been, proposals by teachers' unions that TSC should actually employ teachers who've trained for who are in the teaching profession to be deployed to their counties and not having non-locals being deployed in the northeastern region.
That is fine. It's delocalization. I think in the long term, that is the way to go about this, because teachers, when they are local, they know the terrain, they can easily get intelligence information, and they're not as target as the non-local teachers. I think that is the way to go. But the challenge that we have, Brenda, is that young men and women from the Northeast who finish secondary school, they see teaching profession as a career of the last resort. Yeah? And that all those who got good grades will want to pursue professions other than teaching. And I think we need to go full throttle, try to kind of do awareness, and also for the county and the Constituency Development Fund, they could use those funds to incentivize young people leaving secondary schools to join the teaching profession. So it's the way to go, but we are not yet there because we don't have a sufficient cadre of local teachers to fill in the plan, because basically they are not training. Those who do well in secondary school are not training as teachers. Those who would like to join and who have gotten like D+, the entry grade is C. So that's why we need some kind of a policy arrangement to accommodate potential teacher trainees from the Northeast.
All right, thank you so much. Mohammed Sabu, the Education Program Manager for the European Union here in Somalia, and also tackling on matters to do with education in the northeastern region. And just to remind you that this Thursday, the 20th of February, we expect also a conference that will happen in the northeastern region, bringing together all the county governors of the counties in the northeastern region, together with, Cabinet Secretary for Education and also Interior. Taking us to a fast commercial break here on a KTN News Center, but keep it KTN News for much more, making the headlines in Kenya and beyond.